Pittsburgh Steelers wide receiver Diontae Johnson will allegedly have another hold-in this season if the Steelers and him can't come to agreement on a contract extension. So, the Pittsburgh Steelers, they've entered the 2024 offseason with far more questions than anyone could have anticipated, because it all started with, obviously, who was going to become the offensive coordinator, then it moved on to who's going to become the quarterback. Are they going to go out and get someone, or will it still be Kenny Pickett, or will they give it to Mason Rudolph? And now there's some drama between some players, like Cameron Heyward talking about the fans and how the comments that are being made towards them are not good and how he doesn't appreciate it. And now Diontae Johnson is in the news because of a contract situation that's going to be upcoming this season. He's going to be in the final year of his contract and he obviously wants a new one. So if you remember 2 years ago, he actually did a hold-in, which he showed up to minicamp, he showed up to training camp, but he really wasn't practicing. He was more on the sideline, so he was kind of doing a hold-in until he got a new contract, in which he ended up getting. And now the same thing is happening this season, apparently. Reports are going to say that Diontae Johnson is expected to do the exact same thing that he did 2 years ago. As of right now, he has 1 year left on his contract, and it's worth $15.8 million. And now the Steelers insider has dropped that he heard that Johnson may be doing a hold-in like he did 2 years ago. Here's what he had to say about it. Here's Madden and Benz on a podcast that they did together. I've heard Diontae Johnson's future is in doubt. I've heard whispers he plans to have a hold-in again, like he did 2 years ago, because we're going into the last year of his contract. Another quote by a reporter as well, Ray Fittipaldo, he says that perhaps they could do Johnson again, but I just don't get a strong feeling that they want to go down that road again. So that's something to keep an eye on. And that comment is based off his contract and him wanting an extension and the team not willing to do it this season or in the future. Who knows? Anyway, this offseason is going to be a huge offseason for the Steelers in terms of the draft and free agency. They have a lot of holes on their roster and a handful of things that they need to figure out before the season starts. And decisions on extensions for names like tight end Pat Freiermuth, right guard James Daniel, and wide receiver Diontae Johnson need to be made as well. Diontae Johnson, as of right now, he's coming off his 2023 season in which he hauled in a career low only 51 receptions for 717 yards and 5 touchdowns in just 13 games. And Johnson, he enters the final year of his contract with the Steelers. As you remember, previously Johnson, he signed a 2-year, $36.71 million extension in August of 2022. That locked Johnson up for the foreseeable future, and the Steelers keeping their top receiver in the mix as they underwent a transition offensively. So you look at it like that, and 2 years later, Johnson is entering the final year of his deal once again. It might not be long before he's out of Pittsburgh. You never know what the future holds with him and how upset he has been lately based off the quarterback situation and just the offense in general and just frustration and everything that's going on. In the 2 seasons since signing the extension, Johnson has 137 catches for 1,599 yards and 5 touchdowns. And infamously, Johnson didn't score a single touchdown in the 2022 season before he found the end zone in Week 9 at home against the Tennessee Titans last season, where the Steelers won 20-16. So the production for Johnson over that span has not been a lot. He got paid like a number 1 wide receiver, but the production that he's put on the football field hasn't been like it. But that's mainly because of just the offense and the quarterback in general. How much do you really expect a wide receiver to put up touchdowns when the quarterback, the starting quarterback, Kenny Pickett, is only throwing 6 touchdowns in the whole season? There's just not many to go around if that's the case, and that's what Diontae Johnson is dealing with. So perhaps the Steelers, they may decide not to extend Diontae Johnson, like Ray Fittipaldo has said. They don't want to go down that road again, and it's understandable, because why pay a huge amount of money to a wide receiver to be a number 1 guy if he's not a number 1 guy or he's not even getting the targets to be the number one guy, or you don't have the quarterback or system to make that guy you're paying as a number one wide receiver to be the number one wide receiver. So why go down that road? That's why many people have been speculating a trade or maybe even a hold-in by Diontae Johnson. But me looking at it from this situation based off of 2 years ago, it's a completely different scenario. Because Diontae Johnson, he was coming off a rookie contract 2 years ago. And that contract that he got 2 years ago for a 2-year deal worth like $36 million was his first huge contract in the league. And that's why he was doing a hold-in. He was doing a hold-in because he doesn't want to get injured and have something happen and then him not earn his first huge contract in the NFL. But now that he's earned that first huge contract, you don't really know if he will do a hold-in again, because now it's a completely different scenario. This would be a second big contract in the NFL, and the Steelers aren't entitled to give him it. Also, there have been rumors that he may not even get it, or that a trade might happen. So if a hold-in does happen, it's not a guarantee that he will get extension like it was 2 years ago when he did the hold-in. It's a different scenario, and it's a different kind of thing that's going on with the Steelers right now at the wide receiver position. And you just never know what will happen with Diontae and the Steelers, because we all know the road that they want to go down. They will always do a good job drafting wide receivers in the draft. They always do a good job in replacing the wide receivers that they get rid of. For example, Antonio Brown, Juju Smith-Schuster. They do a good job in drafting receivers like George Pickens to become a guy. And now George Pickens, if he takes another leap this season and he becomes a true number one wide receiver, why would Diontae Johnson get paid like a number one wide receiver if he's not the number one wide receiver anymore on the roster? And now he'd be the number two. So you just never know what he'll get paid. If he does a hold-in, does he not do a hold-in? But right now there's a lot of speculation going on if he would do one. Also, once again, looking at it from an outside perspective, you always hear the fans get on Diontae Johnson for the lack of success. Whether that's him dropping passes, even though this past season he was in the bottom half of the league, the bottom like 10 I believe, in drop passes, meaning that per target he dropped the 10th less passes than any other wide receiver in the league. He was in the top 10 at least dropped alongside George Pickens, so he doesn't really drop balls anymore. That's just a narrative that still goes on around him. Also, the lack of success that he has in terms of touchdowns, the lack of success that he has in terms of running up the field and running backwards when he gets the ball, and just overall the success of the team in general, a lot of times falls on him than other players. So a lot of fans get on him, and they always bring up Diontae Johnson in terms of a person that they don't want on the team anymore, and that the Pittsburgh Steelers should trade. So just looking at a trade scenario for Diontae Johnson, what can they really get for him if they do decide to move off of him? I don't know if they would, but if they did, would they get a second round pick? I don't think they would, because he is entering that final year of his contract, and he's getting paid a huge amount. Would he get a third round pick? Maybe. Maybe it would be more of a third or fourth round pick if the Steelers were to move off of Diontae Johnson. But if they could get a second round pick, that's usually where the Steelers do their business in the draft in terms of drafting a wide receiver. So if they were to be able to get a first or second round draft pick, I think they would move off of him immediately, clear some cap space, use that pick to draft a wide receiver, and get someone maybe in free agency. So if that happens, sure, then Diontae Johnson will be moved. If not, expect him to be on the team. I don't think it's worth it to only get back a third or fourth round pick to move off of Diontae Johnson based off people that you have on the roster, and you still need targets. You need playmakers to make plays for your quarterback, and if you move Diontae Johnson, you really only have George Pickens at the wide receiver position. So I just don't see that happening. If a trade happens, it more than likely will be because of great value they would get back. Basically like a Chase Claypool situation where they fleeced the other team in which they traded with. But with that being said, this is kind of the rumors that's going around with Diontae Johnson as he enters his final year of his contract, in which he's making $16 million this year, and he wants a raise. He wants a contract for next season and years in the future. Will he get it? Who knows? Will the Pittsburgh Steelers move off of him? Who knows? But this is what's going around right now, and Diontae Johnson apparently, allegedly, per reports, may be doing another hold-in like he did 2 seasons ago in which he wanted another contract and he got it. But with that being said, let me know down in the comments below your thoughts on the situation. Do you believe Diontae Johnson's going to do a hold-in? Do you not believe it? Do you think he should? Do you think the Steelers should move off him? Or do you think they should stay with him? Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. And also, don't forget to subscribe to the channel down below as well if you like Steelers content, analysis, and reports. Like the video, turn on post notifications down below for the channel as well. Click that bell down below so you never miss out whenever the newest Steelers news drops. But until next time, I'll see you guys all later. I'm out. Peace.